Welcome back to another episode of On a Mission. I'm your host, Dr. Wendy Norfleet with Norfleet Integrated Solutions, and it's my pleasure to have with me today Javarah J. Joseph with Jay's Money Secrets. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
So, Jay, where did this passion for financial literacy and helping people, create wealth come from?
Well, it came from an aspect of my mother. One thing that my mother always taught me was how to work hard. But even when working hard, I noticed we still had very humble beginnings and we still went through a lot of financial struggles. There's me and myself. I was working hard and I still had an eviction. I had a repossession and I actually spent nights without electricity. But I knew that there was a better way of life because every time I start looking at money, I'm looking at entertainers. I'm looking at the Lil Wayne of my days, the Michael Jordans, and unfortunately some people in my neighborhood that did things illegal. So I knew that there was a better lifestyle, but I didn't know how to get it. But I didn't want to do it through entertained. I wanted to get paid for what I know and not what I actually do. So that's where that took me on this journey to learn about money, what it is, how it works, and most importantly, how to make it work for me.
Okay. And so now, but your business is now how to make it work for others, right? Or try to teach them how to. I mean, ultimately it's helping your business, but who you serve are people that are trying to get there themselves.
Absolutely, absolutely. In my culture, my community growing up, we had certain terms: get it out the mud, grit, working hard. But then you got to get to a point where we don't have to work hard just to earn money, but we can work smart to be able to create money and create money specifically to build wealth. And that's what I want to help educate us to do.
Okay. And so this education, what type of activities and or services does it include?
That's a great question. So number one, we have to start off with a foundation. And in order to build anything, we have to have a strong foundation. And this foundation is called financial literacy, a term loosely used in our society, but financial literacy being taught specifically in a way to build wealth. And the reason why we want to build wealth is what? To be able to live life on our own terms, to achieve this thing called financial independence.
I know financial literacy, I mean, for the most part, it's the same, but it does vary.
Yeah.
It varies what it means. And so when we talk about, working smarter, not harder, things like that, when you say start at the beginning, what does that include? Does that mean, I'm assuming we have to learn, what are our choices? Because sometimes we don't know what we don't know.
Yeah, you said a key. People perish from lack of knowledge.
Right.
So let me give you 7 reasons why people are not wealthy. Number one, a lot of us don't believe that we can be wealthy because we might not have had those examples growing up. So that's one, we have to believe it, create a vision for it. Number two, we have to specialize in something. You might have heard a lot of times you can't be jack of all trades.
Right.
You got to specialize in one thing and be so good that people can't ignore you. Now, once you do that, we got to learn a game called leverage. Now, what leverage is simply I'm using other assets or people time to get done more than what I can do with what I have.
Right.
Now, you have heard the acronyms I like to use are OPK, OPT, and OPM. Other people's knowledge, other people's time, and other people's money. That's how you're able to duplicate yourself.
Right.
Then from there, we have to actually apply what we learn. Because I've heard before that faith without works is dead. But in doing so, we have to secure. We have to make safe everything that we're actually building. And what I mean by that, one day we're going to die. Do you have beneficiaries set up? Do you have that legacy plan left? All right. We do have creditors. Creditors can sue or things can happen. Do you have things and parameters set in place to protect the wealth that you have and that you also are building? Most importantly we got to be able to save. Sometimes we consume more than we actually invest.
That's a lot of the society.
It is what it is. But yet again, there's systems and processes, things that we can put in place to be able to save. Now, when we save, we're saving this thing called money, which is currency. It has no intrinsic value. It's worthless. But what we have to do, which is number 7, is take that savings and make it capital and invest it. And investing, I'm simply allocating my money, my time, and resources somewhere else to eventually get a greater return than what I put into it initially.
Okay. That's pretty good.
And that's how you build wealth.
But I know, like for me, my parents were really, they were a great role model as far as for my grandfather, some of my grandparents were, they weren't able to vote. They weren't, my granddad had a company way before his time, but his partner was white and he would send him to meet with the people to get the contract, but then he would bring it back to him because he was, he taught him what to say, but he was the one who actually costed it and everything like that. And this is in Mississippi, so this is why I was so different there. But you know, so both my parents have great work ethics. Their parents both had farms in Mississippi, and so they were all about savings. I mean, we had property, we had a house, we had, you know, things. And my parents were. I can remember when we were little, we can't get it because, you know, we don't have the money for it. And it wasn't about buying it on credit. So what do you think made that shift? It's almost like a 180 shift, and that's what a lot of households that had older parents, and now where they bought very little on credit. And this society is credit driven.
Well, number one, you said some things that hit home to me. Number one, you made me think about something that my mother used to always say to me, that money doesn't grow on trees. But what she didn't tell me is where it did grow. And I was determined to figure that out and understand where money actually comes from. And now I know. So now I'm able to create it. So with that, we identify today, marketing budgets are up for a lot of companies. We have social media that's easier to project information out to other companies. And we consume more than we invest as a society.
Right.
So ideally, to be wealthy and be financially astute and financial literate, you use what I call your assets, right? You acquire an asset first. And what is an asset? An asset is something that's going to put money into your pocket, whether it be monthly through a cash flow, through appreciation. Opportunity that I love is an asset that's going to give you cash flow and appreciation. That's what we need to be after. So we create these assets. We buy assets first. Because you may have heard before, pay yourself first.
Right.
And a lot of people do it through their employer and sponsored retirement plans.
Right.
That's a whole nother conversation. But that's a form of paying yourself first. Now, once you acquire these assets, you take your assets now to pay for your liabilities.
Okay.
And now your asset is something that perpetuates. A job, an example, is temporal. An asset can be longevity. It can be infinite. So it's okay to have these pleasures in life, but you, with your hard-earned money, don't pay for them. Your assets should pay for them.
Okay. So if people want to know more about services, learn more about some of your wisdom, how do they do that?
How do they do that? Oh man, well, it's multiple ways.
Okay.
So one of the main things, like, I really want to educate people, right? Because I'm a wealth advocate for all. So I want to portray and put out my information about building wealth.
Right.
One of which is on IG at Jay's Money Secrets. They also can follow me on LinkedIn at Jay Joseph. And I actually have a website, which is jmoneysecrets.com.
Okay.
These are 3 ways people can actually get in contact with me and also follow me.
Okay. All right. So thank you for coming on, and I wish you, you know, prosperity and growth and using your assets. All right. Thank you so much for coming on.
I appreciate you, and thank you for the opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much for joining us today and learning more about Jay's Money Secrets. Don't forget, his website is jmoneysecrets.com, and we'll see you next time on Buzz TV.